Yavneh Academy, are you ready? Ready? Okay, and you may begin.
Good morning, and we are Yavneh Academy from Dallas. So the case has been stated many times, so let's just get right into it. Before we go to any halacha, we need to classify the car. In our case, Rachel Rubenstein is driving an Oliva car. This is a self-driven car, so classifying its liability status is difficult. On one hand, it could be comparable to the liabilities of a shore, an ox, which is the property of the owner. If this were true, then the theoretical liability would only extend to nezek, damage, shown in Bava Kama 8.1, where it says that the liabilities of a shore do not include the other four liabilities: tsar, ripoy, shevet, and boshet. In English, pain, medical expenses, time away from work, and embarrassment. However, one might think that the car could also be classified as a human, since it was programmed by humans and now has the sensitivity of a human mind, therefore able to make calculations that a shore could not have made. In this case, however, the car cannot be classified as a human because it doesn't make a conscious decision. It just makes the same decision every time, according to an algorithm. It also isn't like Aish, fire, because Aish by nature consumes, which is why one is liable for any damage. This is shown in Gemara Bava Kama 10a, where it says, Ha'esh darcha lelech v'lehazik. The fire normally goes to damage. For example, the Torah says in Shemot 22:5, when a fire is started, it will spread to thorns and consume it. The self-driving car is fine to be left alone, and in fact, by nature, avoids damage. This means it is liable for negligence, but not ones, which is an unexpected occurrence. An additional question is whether the car company should change their programming, either to have avoided Mr. Shalom or to add human override. It was made explicitly clear in the case that the safest option was to crash into Mr. Shalom, so human override could only provide downside.
Next, we look at the pedestrian. Even though his actions were indirect, he could be liable under grounds of Garmi, indirect damage, that you are liable for. The qualifications for Garmi are very specific. They require the actions to have immediate ramifications that must be guaranteed to happen. Not only this, but Garmi also has to be Be'adayim, Tosfot Bava Basra 22b, which means a person must physically touch the item that did damage. In this situation, the car swerves immediately after the pedestrian jaywalks. And according to the information given, it was made clear that based on the Leva software, the car only swerved into Mr. Shalom. But because he did not physically touch the car, his actions are grama, and therefore is patur under grama v'nezikin patur, Rashi Bava Kama Bava 55b. This means that since the damage he caused was indirect, he can't be held liable for them.
Now to address the actions of the Oliva car / Ms. Rubenstein. It's important to note that since the car is classified as a shore, the actions of the car are her responsibility. We are not classifying it as Adam Hamazek, as she's not directly controlling the car. Rather, the car is moving on its own program settings. So when the car uses somebody else's item to save its life, its actions were protected under the concept displayed in Ketuvot 19a, which states, Ein lecha davar shemuad b'fnei pekuach mefesh. Nothing stands in the way of saving a life except for the three cardinal sins, damage not being one of them. However, another source of liabilities would stem from the halacha of hamatzo atzmo b'mammon chavero chayev, Bava Kama 60b, the concept that if I save my life with someone else's item, I'm liable to repay the person whose item is destroyed. In Shochan Aruch Hoshen Mishpat 383, it states, someone who saves another's life is not liable to pay for any other damage that ensues in the saving. Therefore, since the pedestrian's life is being saved as opposed to Miss Rubenstein's, the pedestrian is the one who's chayav for the damage that occurred. The Shulchan Aruch goes to explain that the reason why Miss Rubenstein is patur is because we do not want to ever de-incentivize the act of saving.
Another reason for her exemption is in Rashi Bava Kama 55b, Perak HaKones. It brings a case where someone's animal gets out of a properly guarded area. The owner is patur on the grounds of my hava le'lamed. What more could she have done? Miss Rubenstein achieved her maximum amount of guarding. In this situation, the car offered no human override option, and she was perfectly in line with the law, doing what she was doing in the car. Hence, she cannot be held liable for the damage the animal made. To address insurance's role, the Teshuva ben Hanhago, authored by Rabbi Moshe Sternbach, explains that in any case, the insurance company will never replace the obligation of the liable party. The liable party cannot use the victim's insurance as an excuse for exemption. They still must pay no matter the extent of the victim's coverage, since the damager has a direct responsibility to compensate for the damage. In our case, when Mr. Shalom's car is destroyed to save the pedestrian's life, the pedestrian is chayav for the damage. He cannot, for any reason, use Shimon's insurance as an excuse not to pay.
So, in summation, we found the car to be a shore, as it is the property of the owner, but because it is not inherently damaging, it cannot be an Aish, and because it runs on an algorithm and does not make conscious human decisions, it cannot be designated as an Adam Amazik or a human. Now, addressing Mr. Levine, he programs his car to prioritize life, a halakhically backed notion in Ketubo 19a. Therefore, he's not liable to pay Mr. Shalom's expenses, nor to fix his programming or coding. And as to the question on insurance, Rabbi Sternbach outright rejects the notion that one can use somebody's insurance as a way out of payment, and you are still directly liable for your actions. Mr. Rubenstein is patur. As Shulchan Aruch Choshen Mishpat 383 holds that we should not de-incentivize life-saving by holding the life-saving party accountable for any expenses or damages they may incur. In our case, Ms. Rubenstein is the life-saving party, and by making her liable for her damages, she would definitely think twice next time before saving someone, so she must be able to patur in accordance with the Shulchan Aruch. Also, because she did everything she could in accordance with Rashi 55b Bava Kama, she's still rendered patur. The pedestrian is liable for nezek, as the car is a shore, which only extends as far as nezek, not sari, poshet, or poshet. We found him liable because he was the one who got saved, and Bava Kama 60b states that the one who gets saved with another's property is liable to reimburse the damagee. However, he is not present to pay Mr. Shalom, so Mr. Shalom will have to shoulder the burden. It was also mentioned in the case that the crash occurred during Av. Now, while Shulchan Aruch Siman Orach Chaim Siman Tuf Kuf Nun Aleph Seif Yud Chet advises to stay safe and exercise caution during Av because there's a stronger presence of the Keter Meriri, or the Malach HaMavet. Nowhere does the Shulchan Aruch ever condone or excuse any liabilities or damages on those grounds that occur during Av. Thank you.
Okay. Move your mic up. Guys.
Judges, you have 8 minutes.
I'll answer the questions.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
So let's start with Groma and Garmi. What's the basis for Garmi being chayav?
Wait, could you please explain the question?
What's the basis that you said Groma ben Ezekiel is potter? I understand. Garmi would be chayav. What's the definition of Garmi? What's the basis upon which Garmi is chayav?
Well, Garmi would be indirect damage that is first inevitably caused and immediately after the action, and is second done biyadayim, which is touching it. Let's say shooting a gun at someone, you could say, oh, I just pressed the trigger, and that's indirect damage. But if you did it with your hands and it had an immediate inevitable cause, then it's Garmi and you're still chayav.
An example given is burning a check because it's pay a dime, but it's not exactly direct because it's not like burning literal money. You still have to
Is it
cash the check.
compensation or knas?
What?
Is it compensation or knas?
What you're chayav for?
Yeah. What's the basis for Garmi? Is it compensation or is it knas?
I think it's compensation.
It's compensation?
Yeah.
Okay, it's machlokes rishonim, but
Right.
if according to those people that would say it's knas, would you still have the same view? Because knas may well be the view of Rashi according to the Ramban. So therefore, if it was knas, in your situation, would you have ruled the same way?
Yes, but remember that we said it wasn't Garmi.
You're saying vis-a-vis the pedestrian?
No, we said the pedestrian's actions were grumma
Okay.
because he didn't physically touch the car.
Well, do you need physical touching, or does Ma'aseh b'yadayim mean proximate?
What do you mean? Physical. We said you have to physically touch it.
Isn't that also a machlokas rishonim?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so basically I'm just trying to sort of understand the basis for your ruling. So basically you viewed Ma'aseh b'yadayim as being actual physical as opposed to proximate,
Yes.
And it has to be direct, and it's on the basis of compensation and not knas. Okay? Why is Ms. Rubenstein chayev for anything?
We said she's not.
Shouldn't she be chayev based upon the fact of mutar latzila b'mammon shel chavero?
Right, but in that case, you're saving your own life. We applied that to our case where you're saving someone else's life. So in the case where you're saving your own life, you're chayev because you were the one who got saved. But in our case, the one who got saved is the pedestrian, not Ms. Rubenstein.
Well, but isn't she the cause of the damage?
No, the cause of the damage is the pedestrian for jumping into the road in front of a car.
Okay, so then in essence, you're saying that she is potter because she's done everything that she could?
Yes.
Okay. And let me ask one final issue. Why is it that you don't have to change the programming of the car?
Because some might propose human override, but it states you could have human override if people like driving, I guess. But it states clearly in this case that human override would only provide downside because the car made the perfect decision in crashing into Mr. Shalom's car.
Okay. One last question. A lot of your presentation is not in your written submission. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, we changed our PSOC.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
That explains it.
Yeah, we went through a lot of dilemmas.
Yeah.
Which dilemmas? What was the major dilemma?
Well, one of the major dilemmas was whether it's shore or
Okay.
not, or
Yeah.
aish. So we actually deliberated on that a lot before we came to our final answer.
And also, since we before thought it was Asia, it changed a lot of our ruling. In the end.
Explain that.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay, we're now at another 5-minute break, and would please,
When?
Herculia High School, please prepare.
Ask the guy to come up. Yeah, there you go.
Can I ask what knas is? That is the concept we had in the sources we were providing. Can I ask what knas is? Oh, okay. Thank you.
So it's binary compensation. Our fourth member is she couldn't travel, but we're doing a voice call. Voice call? Yeah. Well, when I feel like I remember. Yeah.